Okay. Hey everyone. I just gotta make sure that it's streaming to all the platforms. So streaming there. It's streaming there. All right. I'm gonna go live here. Whew. And then we're gonna go live here. Hello everyone. Hello. I'm so excited to be here. Um, we have to stop it now. First Sunday question and answer life lessons session with Sheila Little. That's me, right? So I don't want to keep you guys too long. I got some notes. So if you guys don't know it yet, I am doing a 31-day stop it now challenge. Okay. And so every day, if you're following me, you will get something that needs to stop. I started this in 2023 because through my work as a life coach and a therapist, I realized that people, they were always just trying to do more and trying to be more and trying to grow more and just doing a lot. And after doing a lot of research and starting my PhD program, I realized that before we change, before we evolve, before we transform to the person that we're trying to become, there are some things that we need to stop doing. All right. And just by stopping it, right, there will be a drastic shift and change in your life. So I just thank you guys for being here for this kickoff session. Like I said, it's Sunday. The challenge is set around the stop it now framework. We'll go into that. And then every week I'll focus on an acronym from life. All right. So if you have any comments, put them in a comment. I'm going to be reading the comments. I'm going to be on Instagram. I am going so many places right now. But yeah, I'm excited about this. All right. So here's how it's going to go. I'm going to recap our affirmations from this week, right? And then I asked you guys to submit some questions. So I thank the people who DM me those questions because I was a little worried. And then I'm going to answer those. And then I'm going to also try to get some answers in the chat. So again, if you guys have any questions, just make sure you post them in the chat. All right. And then at the end, I'm gonna have a call to action. I hope that's all right with everyone. Is that all right? Okay, thank you. I'm glad that's all right. All right. So let's go. So this week, we focused on just the life acronym, right? So on the first, we kicked off the first week really about loving yourself boldly and replacing this self doubt with some affirmations. All right. So that let me go to that. All right. So, oops, wrong one. Let me get out of that. Shoot. Okay. So, so again, we have to stop it now challenge. So we started off this week with the life acronym, right? So love of self was on Wednesday, interactions with others was on Thursday, Friday was focus, and then Saturday was emotions, right? And day one, I really wanted to focus on loving yourself boldly by replacing self doubt with affirmations. And day one's affirmation was to stop negative talk and self criticism. And the action I asked you guys to take was to replace your negative thoughts with thoughts like, replace the negative thoughts like I am not enough with I am capable and worthy. All right. I know that this is can sometimes be challenging for people to really say things that we don't believe. But remember, we're constantly feeding our brain information, and the information that we're feeding it may be different than what we experienced in our youth or in our past life. So an affirmation is really just affirming a vision, right? A vision for your life. And so we want to make sure that we're replacing self-doubt with affirmations of self-love, especially when we're struggling with self-criticism and negative self-talk. Okay. Um, like I said in the post, studies show that practicing daily affirmations, it will increase your self-esteem by 20%. Okay. And your confidence. All right. Day two, we was really about investing in healthy relationships and setting boundaries and reclaiming your worth. All right. Listen, around life, there's things like we get these little cuts, right, in our bodies. And it's like we have to, in some way, transform ourselves and be able to set boundaries so that we can reclaim this feeling of good enough. All right. So day two's affirmation was stop surrounding yourself with toxic relationships. And the action for that was distance yourself from individuals who consistently bring negativity into your life. Now, again, I'm not saying do this forever. All right. And I think that that is sometimes the thought that like I'm gonna distance myself and cut people off forever. No, 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 no. When we break a leg or we break an arm, right, we cast that until it heals and then we start to use it again. All right. So when we're trying to transform or heal, it's important for that season, for that time to sometimes separate yourself, right, from people who are negative because it's only feeding into sometimes your self belief. All right. And so we want to separate that, fill you up with a different mindset, get you to shifting who you think you are or who you believe yourself to become. And then we can introduce those people back into our life. All right. I really wanted to fix that because I think that we will cut off people, honey, and never go back. And it's like, that's not the goal. The goal is to take a break, to take a vacation, right? To stop this until you get what you need so you can go back, right? And again, studies have shown that people who maintain positive social circles report higher levels of happiness and productivity. And so sometimes stopping those negative interactions, right, positions us to get some new friends, get some new supports, right? That now is filling us up enough that when we go back, we are more resilient. Okay. Um, day three, we really wanted to focus on what matters by ditching multitasking, right? This is all about focus and staying aligned on our goals. This multitasking thing, we gotta stop it. All right. Um, I know that people say I'm a multitasker and that just works for me. Multitasking actually can take up more time than than I think I froze. Okay, there I go. So multitasking actually can take up way more time than just focusing on a single task till its completion and then adding another task in. All right. So we want to start to, really start focusing on single tasking so we can get the clarity and energy that we need. I'm going to give you an example of what this looks like. You're talking to somebody. I'm gonna tell you, you're experiencing it. You're talking to somebody. You want their attention, right? And they're on their phone. They're cooking. They're doing all these things, and you feel like I don't got your attention. They're like, oh no, no, no. I'm listening. I'm just doing this. But it's a feeling that you have like, no, like you really don't have my attention. And so you're focused on trying to get their attention because it just doesn't feel like a connection there. Right. So remember, energy is everything. So if you got 50 things open and you're focused on 50 different tasks, okay, that is going to slow down your productivity. All right. It looks like I'm freezing again. Okay. All right. So we want to focus on a single task. Again, studies have shown that people who studies have shown that when we single task, we can increase our productivity by 40%. 40%. Just by, I'm going to focus on this one thing. I'm gonna wash the clothes. I'm going to focus on folding these clothes, right? I'm going to focus on cooking. I'm going to focus on my friendships. And this is really big in relationships. Like, I'm going to set time aside to be focused and here and present for a relationship. All right. And then yesterday we ended it with really getting you to embrace emotional healing by addressing, not suppressing what you're feeling. All right. And we did that by saying stop suppressing emotions instead of addressing them. All right. The action was just to acknowledge the process you're feeling, acknowledge and process your feelings rather than pushing them aside. This is so important because one, we have become a culture that feels like anything that has to do with our heart is negative, the heart is deceptive, emotions are wrong, and all of that. But it is studies that show that your heart actually emits way more energy than your thoughts and your mind could ever do. So we have been trained to push that down. And if you grew up in a home like I grew up, you crying and it's like, shut up. What you crying for? Well, you just whooped me, ma'am. That's why I'm crying, because my butt hurt, right? Or, you break up with a boyfriend or out of a relationship and you go to feel that emotion, people like, he ain't worth your emotion, right? So for years, we have been trained to suppress the very thing that makes us human, which is our emotions. So instead of suppressing these emotions, we need to learn how to sit with them and acknowledge them, because the truth is that um, suppressing your emotions, it doesn't take them away. Like, they are going to be there, right? And research shows that emotions, when we process them, we actually reduce the stress and improve our mental clarity. All right. So we want to make sure that we are addressing instead of suppressing our emotions, right? And this is where it comes to going to get a therapist, getting a coach, right? And helping you walk through that, because emotions, they don't feel good. When you're getting back into a relationship with your emotion, because the first relationship after any broken relationship is a relationship with ourselves. All right. So when we're starting to get back into a relationship with ourselves, we definitely want to make sure that we have learned how to process our emotions, sitting with them, and not being a boomerang that you hurt me, so now I'm gonna hurt you. When you love me, I'm gonna love you. See, that's a lot of power that we're giving other people, and we hold the power and we want to feel powerful and amazing, but we're allowing the outside world to dictate how we feel and how we respond, and that's just not going to work. All right. So if you guys have been following me for these 4 days of life, why don't you drop some ahas for yourself? I did get some likes and I got some DMs. So make sure you put in the comments any aha moments for me. All right. So now that we've recapped that, and I thank you guys for your comments, we're going to go into the actual question and answer part, right? And I call this Life Lessons with Sheila Little. Right? This is going to be my new podcast as well. But again, it's just the life acronym: love of self, interaction with others, focus and energy. And what I find is it's can sometimes be very challenging for me to just get up and talk about a topic. I need context, right? Because we're all individuals and we're trying to look for a broad broach, a broad stroke approach to our singular problem, right? And so for me, a life lesson, when you ask me a question and then I know the context of that question, then I can speak to you, and maybe there's 100 or 1,000 people just like you that now can hear that and say, yeah, I get that. All right. And so these life lessons are truly from my experience as a coach, as a therapist, coming from poverty to success, becoming a doctor, all of the things that I had to go through while also educating myself and reading and researching. So I'm going to give you the best answer to my ability in how to address that situation. All right. So I thank the person who sent the first question, right? So our first question, and again, if you guys have any questions, let me pause. If you have any questions, no matter how big or no matter how small, I do want this to be a safe place for you to share those questions. You can DM me your question, right? So if you don't want to put it here, just DM it to me and then I'll bring it up at our next, at the next Sunday, same place, same time. All right. So here's our first question. The first question is, how do I stop comparing myself to others? It feels like I'm always falling short. When I read this question, I was like, oh, thank you, God. Right? I get to talk about this because I think a lot of people struggle with feelings of self-worth, and I think it's triggered by like social media and our friends and interacting with our peer groups and and needing guidance about how to really deal with comparing myself. All right, so let me just say first, it's okay, right? It's okay to look at somebody else and to be inspired. Like, wow, I have great friends. I see Miss Maytag, she joined on Instagram. I mean, I love what her and her family is doing. Like, that inspires me. And so I would use their coming from the same neighborhoods. I would look at the things that she's been able to do, her and her husband, and I can say, wow, that is a great thing. That's inspiring to me, right? Now, to look at, and I'm at Miss Maytag, and say, I'm not good enough because both of us are 45 and why don't I have what she's been able to have? See, now that's a detriment to me, right? Because now I'm comparing where I'm at in my progression of life to where she appears to be, right? Because I don't have that information. All I have is a couple of talks. I know she owns a business. I know the business is doing well, but I don't really know the things that she had to go through to get there. So for me to now compare myself and say, I'm not good enough because when I'm looking at her or any other successful Black woman who happens to be around my age and look my color, and now I'm not worthy enough, that is a detriment to me. All right. And so what we want to do is we want to give ourselves permission to compare, but we want to be inspired, right? We want to more look at people as inspiration, but not judge where we're at in our race to anyone else's race, because what God got for you, he got for you. And there are steps that you need to take that may be different than anybody else. All right. This is a great question because I think so many of us internally have this thing. And guess what? We've been taught it. When you were little and your cousin had longer hair and you had short hair, it's like, why your hair ain't like your cousin's? If it was a good kid in school that got good grades and you struggle with your grades, why you can't be like that? So a lot of the comparison was stuff that we got taught, to do, and made us feel bad because we wasn't at the level of someone else. But when we become adults, listen, when we become adults, we separate ourselves. We break ourselves from the things that our environment taught us, and we create a new life, a new experience. And this is one of those habits that we have to stop before we do anything else. I need to stop comparing myself to other people. All right. Any feedback, questions about that? If you do, just place them in the comments and I'll follow up. All right. So question number 2. A great question. I've been trying affirmations, but I don't really believe them. How do I make them work? So I have a 31-day affirmation challenge. And when people go through it, they just like, it's just so tough for me to believe, in affirmations, right? The Because we're looking for the truth in the affirmation for us. But remember, the affirmation is for the vision. It's for the person that you seek to become. So the emotional connection, right, won't be there in the beginning, right? It's kind of like you're priming your brain with this new way of thinking and seeing about yourself. And anything we do to try to change who we are becoming, you are going to resist it. You're going to resist it at first because it's going to seem unnatural. So if I've been feeling like I'm not enough for all my life, and now I'm reading this affirmation that says I am enough, guess what's going to happen? Every thought in me that supported the feeling of not being enough, I'ma hear it. Well, you ain't enough because you don't make no money, you don't do this. Every thought that I believed that supported the belief that I wasn't enough, when I say I am enough, I decide to believe in that. Everything in me is going to try to steal that from me. That is the process. But we keep saying it. It's kind of like when you first got on a bike when you were little, right? And you wanted to ride that bike because you saw your friends riding a bike. They was riding with no hands, right? And you failed. You failed the first time, you failed the second time, and I bet you right now, if you look at your legs, you got some scars from when you tried to ride that bike. But it didn't stop you. Your previous knowledge of how it was to ride a bike and then getting on the bike and riding it, it didn't stop you from riding a bike. You kept getting on it, right? So if you've been trying affirmations and you don't really believe them, that's okay in the beginning. It's okay. You don't have to believe them. But we're going to keep saying it. We're going to keep doing it. We're going to keep listening to them until guess what? Until you believe it. And that belief can happen just one day when somebody talks to you raggedy and you like, listen, I am just too much for this, right? And then you like, wow, I'm actually starting to feel like I'm enough. All right. Yes, this. Yes, ma'am. All right. So we're not going to believe some things. Even when we start transforming our life, we don't go in believing a lot of the things our therapists say or even think, which is why I do got to give this, which is why when people work for me, I have labs. We're going to talk about this before you go expose yourself in that situation because I know you got to practice, and practice makes better. It don't make perfect, but it makes it better for those words to come to you, which is why I have the 31-day affirmation. So you can start to train and prime your brain for that. And I also have an affirmation course to really help you understand how to better understand it and apply affirmations. I'm gonna give you a sneak peek of that. For example, if I had a goal that I wanted to start working out, just say y'all have like a goal for this year to say, I want to start working out. What you want to do is an affirmation first, right? So you want to affirm that first. So every day you want to be, the first 31 days, you want to be saying, I go out and work out every day. Working out feels good to me. I love my body after I work out, right? You want to affirm that before you do the goal, because the affirmation now is programming your mind now to start, oh, okay, we like working out. So guess what? When you go to work out, now you have new language. So when you finna do that squat, like Eric, my trainer, and I'm like, I don't want to do this. I have fed my mind enough information to say, no, Sheila, we like working out. It's good for us. Does that make sense? I hope it does. If it does, if you have any questions about that, post it in the comments. All right. So we're going to go to question 4, right? Question 4. This is a big one. I'm probably going to say this is a big one for all of them. This is under interactions with others. What do I do if someone refuses to respect my boundaries. Right? So let's have a conversation about what a boundary is, because I think that one, there's a difference between setting a boundary that, well, let me say this. A boundary is not setting an expectation for somebody else to do something to make you comfortable. I'm going to say that again, and I'm going to say it slower. A boundary is not an expectation for somebody else to change their behavior to make you comfortable. And I think that we feel like, I told you to stop talking to me like that, right? I want you to change that behavior, right, to make me feel comfortable. That's not a boundary. What a boundary is I want to start having more healthy interactions. So because I want that, I'm going to create a boundary for people who want to argue. All right. Now, say that person want to argue. You created a boundary. I'm sorry. I don't argue anymore. I prefer healthy communication. That's just not what I do. And they're still trying to argue, right? This is where we get our cutoff game. Oh, see, you ain't respecting my boundaries, so I got to cut you off. No, 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 no. Okay, I see you still want to argue. I'm going to walk away, right? Because my boundary is I don't want to interact in this. So I walk away, all right? Now, just say they want to argue again. I walk away again. I hang up the phone. I don't feed that, right? Because I have created a boundary to create more healthy communication. Does that make sense? I'm going to give it in an example. I love giving this example. So you know the bouncer outside of a club, and many of you may have heard me say this about boundaries. That bouncer is outside the club because it's only 100 people that can get in this club. So he's there, and they got to look like this, and they got to wear this, and they got to, it's certain guidelines, right? So when a person comes up and just say you can't wear tennis shoes, a person comes up and they have tennis shoes on, he's like, oh, you can't get in here. Listen, that's not going to stop the person who got tennis shoes from trying to get in. The person who got tennis shoes going to be like, but I'll pay you an extra $100. He's trying to convince the boundary to do the thing he want to do because it's desirable. I want to get in the club. So when you create a boundary, it's not stopping that person's desire from being present. And we feel like that. We feel like because I told you not to talk to me like that, you shouldn't talk to me like that. Well, first of all, you may have trained this person to talk to you like that or allowed this person to talk to you like that for years. And now because you decided one day that you don't want that anymore, now this person is supposed to comply. And it's like, no, you have to comply first. You have to walk away. You have to cut off the phone, right? You have to get off the phone. You have to adhere to your boundaries. So I just want to say boundaries are for you. They're not for other people. Okay. And we tend to think that they are. So what we create is walls. So now we just build walls up because we feel like people are so disrespectful and they disrespect me so much, right? And it's like, now you got a wall, but let me help you out, my friend. When you create walls, when you're ready to go back out, now you got to tear them walls down, right? Because you done pushed everybody away. See, people will respect your boundary when you respect it, when you continue to communicate. And again, this is a process. We're learning it, which is again why I'm going to have a call to action at the end of this call, because I feel like everything I'm recommending are things that you may need help developing, right? When you first got to school, you didn't know how to say your ABCs. Your teacher helped you. You didn't know how to add your numbers. The teacher helped you, right? So when we think about life, it's things that we don't know how to do, and we need the assistance to get the information so that we can be more competent in our life. And once we become more competent, we will feel more confident in our relationships. All right? All right. Thank you, Kiki. All right. So now let's go to our next question. All right. So our next question is, This is around, let me see, focus. All right. So I feel like I have so much to do in no time. How do I figure out what's most important? This is a good question because I feel like we start to feel overwhelmed because we're juggling family and career and goals and tasks and then we'll just shut down and just don't do anything, right? We just will definitely just shut down. So the simple answer to the person that submitted this question, I feel like I have so much to do in no time. How do I figure out what's most important? Tell yourself what's important. This is where we have to start building trust, right? So if I say the most important thing for me to do is to make my bed in the morning, right? That's very important to me. However, in in just say in my relationship, the person feel like the most important thing I should be doing is cooking dinner. See, now I'm in conflict because I'm letting somebody else dictate what's most important to me, you know? Because if I don't make that bed, and I'm giving an analogy, if I don't make that bed, I'm feeling that all day, you know? So to find out what's most important to you, then you have to sit down and then you have to be honest with yourself. And what may be important to you may not be important to someone else, right? They may see that as you on that, whatever, but that's the thing that gives you energy. That's the thing that sets your tone for the day. So when you learn how to start shifting your brain from what I call duty and what I should be doing and what I could be doing for someone else to more integrity, like what do I need to do for me to fill my cup so I can give to someone else, then, my friend, you will start to feel like you have the time and the energy. The other thing I want to say, and I had to learn this, had to learn it. Hold on, get the water. I had to learn this. Balance happens over a lifetime. It doesn't happen within our weeks. It doesn't happen within our days. And it doesn't happen within our years. It's the thing that when you reflect over, right? When you go back and you review your life, you notice like there were seasons where I had to be real focused if it was school or whatever. And then there were seasons where I could be focused on my family. And I think we're trying to do it all right now. So I need to make it to my son game. I need to go to class. I need to tend to my husband. I need to do all of this in one day. And it's like, no, balance your week. Then balance your month. Maybe your first week you go and I'm just focused on school this week. And so I take all my information, I'm looking over my schoolwork, and then I have my family week. Like this weekend is just focused on family. And then anything I need to do in my personal life, that may be week 3, right? Now when I'm focused there, I'm out of balance in other places. And guess what? That's okay. It's okay. Because again, when we go back to that multitasking, because I chose to create balance and I chose to focus on either my family or my career or, myself, now I have executed and completed that task for that moment. And now I have free time. Now I don't feel so overwhelmed. All right. So this is how we prioritize. One, we have to give ourselves permission to, um, when I'm focused on this, I'm going to be out of balance with a lot of stuff, right? And then 2, we have to give ourselves permission to understand what's important to me, not what's important to the world, what's important to social media, what's important to my kids. Like I need to know what's important to me. And I don't have to say but because and is an inclusive term. My coach taught me that. And I can still know what's important to you. And then I can create balance of the things that's important to me while also addressing the things that are important to you. I hope that made sense. All right. All right. We're going to go into our next question. If you have any comments, again, questions, feedback, please leave it in the chat. All right, so this is a good question. Again, if anybody know me, my dissertation was on procrastination. So this says I've tried to focus, but I always end up procrastinating. What's the first step in breaking the cycle? Right? We know that we all are proclaimed procrastinators. Okay. So how do I break the cycle? Well, first we need to know that procrastination it's an emotional, it's a coping skill. All right. So I'm gonna give an example. The dishes is dirty. I know I need to clean up that kitchen, but I don't feel like it, and I don't feel like it because it's five other people in the house that could be washing them dishes, and I'm just triggered that nobody else want to help with the dishes. So now I'm procrastinating to go wash the dishes because I'm triggered by the dishes being in the sink. All right, that's an emotional thing. I need to turn this test in, or I need to turn this project in at work. I'm worried that they're going to like not like it or give me some poor feedback or it's going to reflect on my performance. So I'm going to procrastinate on getting this done because I'm cycling all the what ifs in my mind about how somebody else is going to respond to my performance. That's emotional. So a big part of our procrastination has to do with our ability to cope in our emotions. What my research showed was that people who also have self management, like are very self aware, tend to procrastinate because of perfectionism. I want to get it perfect. I want to do it just right. And so I don't turn it in or I don't complete it because I don't have all the answers that I feel like I need to complete that task. When the truth of the matter is, sometimes in the completing of the task, the answers will come. Okay. So to answer your question, I've tried to focus, but I always end up procrastinating. What's the first step I need to do to break the cycle? I would say list the emotions. What are you feeling when it's time to do that task? Are you feeling scared? Are you feeling overwhelmed? Are you feeling judged? Are you feeling whatever the feeling is, right? Inadequate, right? And then do a reality test on that, right? Is that true? Right? Is that okay? Is that really how I'm feeling? Or is it the last time I did this? Is this triggering me? Saying like the last time I did this, I got a poor performance. So now I'm anticipating, right, a negative result. I have some doubt, right? And process that, right? And again, at the end of this, I will provide a way for you to have a place to process those things. But thank you for your question. Okay. Thank you for your question. All right, let's go to the next question. We have question 7. I think this is a good one too. Okay. I've been avoiding my feelings because they feel too big to handle. Where do I even start? So, me, I wanted to ask more like, okay, give me a specific example. What does that look like? Like, is this reactions? Like, are you shutting down? Like, what is this big emotion? What is this feeling too big to handle? And so I can pinpoint where you should start. Okay. So so I guess I'm just going to be general. A lot of times, we struggle with impulsiveness. All right. We feel this big emotion inside of us. If it's anger, if we got love bombed or we're with somebody, we're very scared. Like if I get close to them, around vulnerability, right? Being frustrated. But this is not the first time that we probably felt that feeling. Okay. Again, that's why the one, on Saturday, we had to stop suppressing your emotions, right? Because a lot of times the bigness of this emotion is because over the years, now, if you're 20, this may be different, but like I'm 45, I'll be 46 this year. So now me being 46, if I've been suppressing feelings all my life, now they're big feelings, right? Or if the thing that's happening is around something that is very passionate and dear to me, I'm going to have a big feeling about that. All right. So a lot of times we will avoid our big feelings, and I'm going to tell you why. Because we're thinking, I don't want them to think, I don't want them to feel, I don't want to cause any problems, I don't want to, whatever the I don't want thing is, right? Dot, dot, dot. I don't want this, dot, dot, dot. I don't want that, dot, 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 right? And because we are doing that, right, Kiki said that that's good, right? Because we're doing that, now this emotion is getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, right? So where do I start? I think instead of where do I start, it's when do I start? And I would say start now. Start with the little small things that happen. Um, I don't want to jump over that though. So when you're starting to feel the big emotion, I want you to breathe. I want you to take a breath. Because I think what people don't realize is that when we have big emotions, we tend to hold our breath. And I want you to hear me say this, and I want you to believe it. Borrow my belief. An emotion only wants to last up to 90 seconds. It only wants to last 90 seconds. Okay? But what ends up happening is I feel the emotion and then I get a thought. I can't believe they did that. And then the disbelief of them doing that creates another emotion. And then I'm like, I'm always, another thought is created. Like people always feeling like they can do me like this. Now that's attached to another emotion. And then it's like, I'm just so tired of people doing this. And then now, so it's like emotion, thought, emotion, thought, emotion, thought, and people can get stuck in that for years. Just a storyline. And now this emotion that only wants to last 90 seconds, it gets pulled a long string for weeks and years. And people will not forgive other people for their behaviors because they made them feel some way then. And then they created stories that added on to that feeling. And now I'm full of anger against you about all the stories in my mind that I told myself about that one act. Did y'all understand that? Right? So the first thing we want to do is breathe and breathe again and breathe some more. And we're going to keep breathing until we calm down. Okay? Our limbic brain is our emotional brain, and it doesn't have words for the emotions that you're feeling. Okay? And the only way you're going to be able to put some language around it is if you switch your mind from your limbic brain to your neural cortex. I think it's called neocortex, right? And the only way you're going to be able to switch that is to calm down. Now, when you develop a plan on how you want to be or the person that you want to become, it'll be a lot better in how you're going to address that emotion. But if you don't have a plan for the person you want to be or the person you're becoming, it's going to be very different because you may fall back into old patterns, which would create bigger emotions. So, the first thing I would say is breathe. The second thing I would say is find out who you want to become and put a plan around that. So that becomes the structure for how you now start to process your emotions. So if you want to be calm, if you want to be able to communicate your emotions, now that's the person I want to become. I got this big emotion. I want to cuss this MF out, slap him across the head, just kick him down the stairs. But the person I want to become is a healthy person who actually is more forgiving and more compassionate, right? So we're going to start by calming ourselves down. We're going to write a vision for the person I want to become. And then we're going to get the help that we need to mend that gap. Okay? That's the quickest answer. All right? Any feedback about that or any questions about that? If so, put them in a comment. All right, our next question. Thank you guys. I want to just stop and say thank you guys. I see the comments, I see the likes. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to join me today while I provide these life lessons. Again, I'm only going by my experiences and what's coming up in my spirit to address it. I'm not expecting you to go out and do these things right now. Just know that where you're at and the person you're trying to become is a gap there, and these answers is to provide the answer to the person you're becoming or seek to become, and you're going to need help to get over there. And I'm just taking the time in these Sunday sessions to come meet you where you are and say, hey, there's another way to do that, right? And I want to help you to become the person that you desire to be. All right. Okay, so we're on, how do I tell the difference between, okay, so this is number 8. How can I tell the difference between reacting to an emotion and responding to them? This is good. Again, I'm going to go back to the impulsivity. How do I tell because we all hear this, right? I want to respond versus react. All right. So what we really are saying is that I want to be able to manage my emotions constructively, right? That's what I'm understanding you to say. How do I know when I'm not just reacting to a person's foolishness versus responding to their foolishness? Well, again, I think it goes back to the vision, right? And being in integrity with that vision. So if I want to be a healthy individual who communicates 95% of the time in a healthy way, and somebody comes to me with foolishness, right? And I don't have that vision for the person that I want to be. I don't have my values, my principles, and the things that I'm standing on business about. Then I'm going to react to their emotions, and I'm gonna become a fool too. Okay. However, if I know my principles, I know my values, I know the person that I want to become, that I'm becoming, right? And they bring me their foolishness, right? Now I can respond from the person I'm becoming. And I can then tell them that is foolish, right? I can tell them about their foolishness and how their foolishness now make me feel, and then what I'm going to do as a consequence. All right. So reacting and responding is, am I mirroring this person's emotions, or have I set with the thought and now I'm responding from a place where I'm reviewing what they did. Now I'm asking myself, now what you gonna do about that? Or what you gonna say? And a lot of times how I know I'm reacting is because I just gonna be just as much foolish as you are. And here's the thing. I said 98, 95% of the time because we're not perfect. So sometimes foolery, we're going to match foolery. All right. But I'm going to be honest that, now I just act a fool right with this foolish person. Right. But I know I did that. Right. And I know that that is not how I would have wanted to respond. So to answer that question, I think that you need to figure out, how do you want to respond? And then make a diligent effort in responding that way, right? And practice that over and over so that you can feel like you're responding, right, versus reacting. And that is 2 different parts of the mind. Okay. I hope that made sense. Okay. So we're at 8:49. I said I want to do an hour, so I got a couple more questions. Okay. So how do I stay consistent with these changes when life gets busy? How do I stay consistent with these changes when life gets busy? All right. So I think that, again, if I had context around this, I'm thinking that, just say it's 2025, you have put, you have made a decision to change some things in your life, right? And all of a sudden, life starts to life. So you wanted to go to the gym, you wanted to start eating healthy, then you gotta, lost, I don't know, I'm just giving an example. Now you can't get to the gym because the job now is requiring more time from you. And now it's very hard for you to stay consistent with the things that you wanted to change in your life. That's what I'm thinking is going on. And we give a lot of examples about what that looks like. One of the things I want to tell everybody that's listening to this stream, that when you go to change your life, everything is going to come and try to stop that change from happening. Okay. So every intention that you set out, there is a stark opposite reaction that you're going to have to experience for that change to happen. It's called the valley of despair. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I'm so excited about this change. I get into the change. I don't feel as excited. And then I go into this valley of despair. I don't even believe that this can happen. And in the valley of despair, that's where most people turn around and go back. But what you have to do is you have to push through that valley of despair. And then maybe it's not working out, whatever. I'm using working out, but maybe it's not, okay, I'm going to go and work out 5 days a week, but maybe it's, I'm going to get in one day. Maybe it's, I'm just going to wake up and stretch. I'm going to, stretch my arms. I'm going to move my body. And I'm going to do those affirmations, like I said earlier. So now I'm training my brain and I'm getting some alignment within myself that this change is safe. All right. And I want to go into safety because I think that we look at safety very different. When somebody say, you feel safe? We think about that like in a club and, that got shot up or something. Like, I ain't going to that club. I don't feel safe. The safety that I'm talking about is an emotional safety. Okay. A lot of us don't feel emotionally safe and emotionally vulnerable, right? For the changes that we want in our life. All right. And so we're doing those affirmations so that we can start to prime our brain to be safe, to feel safe in this new body, to feel safe with this new money that's coming in, to feel safe with this new relationship, right? This change that for years my body was so used to the old standard, and now I'm creating a new standard. And something in my brain, my survival brain, sees that new standard as a threat. All right. So how do you stay consistent? Small steps, just small steps, affirmations, and I would say the third thing is grace. If you went 5 days, if you went 4 days this week, and then next week you go 2 days, and then the week after that you go one day, and then you like, oh, forget it. Like, it's just not, no, we're going to give ourselves grace that at least I did go one day. Okay. And then if the next week you ain't go at all, then we're going to plan to go back on that fifth week. Right. Because I think a big part of it, which was the affirmation, is the critic, right? This person that's criticizing you never finish what you started. And, in some way we feel like we have to have this perfect opportunity and we have to do things perfectly. I said I was going to go for 5 days and I only went 3 days, and that means that I'm not good enough or I can't do it, so I quit. And how do we stay consistent is by building the habit of consistency. And that means that now I have to prime my brain. I have to get used to that. And that may take 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years. So you got to give yourself grace, because remember, you got a lot of momentum in your old behaviors, and you're trying to stop that momentum with new behaviors. And I'm gonna give you an example. That's like trying to just we live in Saginaw, for anybody that's not here, but we have a Saginaw River. That's like trying to dam the Saginaw River, right? Like when you put that water, when you try to dam that Saginaw River, the force and the momentum of that river is still coming, and it's gonna make it hard to try to dam that river if the thing you want ain't big enough. Just because you decided to make this change don't mean these other behaviors still don't want to, the force of them still doesn't want to express themselves. And that's why we need to give ourselves grace. All right. I hope that helped. So somebody said yes to me, reacting, not thinking, and responding is me taking the time to think about whatever I got going on. Right. Right. Exactly. Thank you for that, Kiki. All right, we're gonna go into I'm gonna go into a couple of more questions. If you guys have any questions, post them in. So this next question is, what should I do if I fall back into old habits? How do I get back on track? Again, this kind of goes with this other one. How do I stay consistent with the things once life get busy? Again, and I can also add that one to priorities, right? Like, what am I focused on this week? What am I focused on next week? But this question is good because I think this is, again, when we go into that valley of despair, what should I do when I fall back into bad habits? Give yourself grace. Give yourself grace. How do I get back on track? Forgive yourself as soon as you can. Learn how to be okay with 2 steps forward, 1 step back, because you still 1 step ahead. And then you go 2 steps forward and you take 1 step back. Now you 2 steps ahead. Because the listen, life is about ebb and flow. It's about the pull and it's like I get so far and then I come back. But guess what? You ain't coming back to. You ain't never coming back to where you start, because once you got new information, the brain won't forget that. So if you go 2 steps forward and you take 1 step back, you didn't take 2 steps back. But guess what we'll tell ourselves? I take 2 steps forward, only take 3 steps back. That ain't even logical. You cannot have an experience and not that experience not change who you are. So, but you can take 2 steps forward and feel like you're taking 1 step back, but that is a law. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So for everything I do, I'm going to get a negative response and a positive response. That's what that law is saying. And I think that we just only want the positive responses. We don't want the negative responses, but it's a universal law. It's like gravity. So everything you do, there's going to be a pull. There's going to be a taking away. For every intention you set, there's going to be some destruction. And if we look at it like this, I think this is coming up in my spirit. If we look at these setbacks, let me see the question again. What should I do when I fall back into old habits? So it reminds me, I don't know if you guys ever went to clean out your closet or clean out the pantry or just clean out the garage. It gets so much more messier. And then you get so overwhelmed right when you got everything out the closet, but you look into your room and you like, oh my goodness. And then you stop. And you may stop for a couple of days, lay across the bed, lay on your clothes or whatever. And then one day you like, let me go on and fix this, right? Right? Now, you took that time because you felt overwhelmed, right? From the mess you made, but you made the mess because you wanted to clean something up. All right. So when we go to clean up our lives and we go to add new habits or become different people, there's some cleanup work that we go back in and we look at and we like, ugh, this is, I don't, and we will fall back into some of those behaviors, right? And we just need to be self-aware enough to know that that's not the person I'm becoming. I'm going to forgive myself and then I'm going to move forward. Okay. I hope that makes sense. All right. Yeah, she said, I'm right there right now. Right. And I'm glad you said that, because I think that we definitely have to acknowledge where we're at in our journey. But the most important thing, and if you didn't hear none of my stuff today, I want to go back to that love of self. We just got to be more forgiving and more graceful. It's like we want to be robots. We want to be like AI. We want to do stuff perfect the first time. Teach me how to cook. fry some chicken. You give me the ingredients. I'm supposed to go home, cook this chicken, fry it to perfection the first time. And if I don't, then I'm the worst chicken fryer in the world. Where we learn that at? Where did we learn that we just have to be perfect and get it right the first time? You know, if we fail in our relationships, if we, fail in our jobs or whatever, I'm going to tell you where we got it from. It's a learned behavior. We got graded in school. And if you was an E student, then you was like not a good student. If you failed a test that was 50% of your grade, then you didn't know the concepts, right? So we learned that I got to do it perfect because when the way we were graded when we were young people, we were graded from this retaining information and not from the actual application of the information we know. And the only way that we're going to be able to apply information is to practice it. That's how we get better. Okay. All right. So last question. How do I turn my pain into purpose? I've been through so much, but I don't know where to start. This is a good one to end it with. What y'all say? Give me a thumbs up on that one. Because how many people have this question? I've been through so much. Either it's like, I don't know what my purpose is. Like, I just, I'm struggling, right? So how do I turn my pain into purpose? I've been through so much, but I don't know where to start. And I know that this question may be coming from, there's a storyline that the thing that hurts you the most, maybe that's where your purpose is. And this could be true, right? But this is a combination type of question because first we need to address the pain before we turn it into anything. What is the pain? And then we need to find a way to not banish that. Now we have to find purpose in the pain. Why have you been carrying it? Did it happen yesterday or did this happen 10 years ago? Right? And what is your purpose for carrying that pain for all these years, for all this time or whatever, right? So we got to address the pain first, right? And then we can then go to the next level, the purpose in the pain, right? And then we can create a purpose for your life from the pain. But we can't try to be like, I've been in an abusive relationship and I see this a lot. And this is one of the groups that I work with. People who have been abused and now they want to go and they want to help women who have been abused, but they never went and really got help for their abuse. They just have empathy for women who have been abused, but they never went from, got the emotional intelligence, got the healing that they needed. And so now they go out and they work with other women who have been abused. And it's just like, just a whole mix of abuse and a whole bunch of re-triggering and a whole lot of replaying the story, and not a person who wanted to go out and help these women. It's burnt out because now they're being re-triggered and they want something from these women that the women don't have the capability to provide them. So, and we do this in business. We do this a lot of times. We just don't go back and we don't heal the pain or address the pain. So to answer this question, whoever, to the person that sent it, thank you for sending it. But how do I turn my pain into purpose? Well, first we got to deal with the pain. And then we have to get your reason for, right, your purpose for carrying that pain. And then once we do that, then we can then do something purposeful with that experience. And that's a process. Okay. All right. I thank you guys. This is my call to action. Remember to follow me for the Stopping Out Challenge. I'm at I Am Shaping Solutions on all social media handles. Make sure you waitlist for that Project Life, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, and then join my Elevating Life group. I told you guys that I was going to have a call to action, and it's really this Project Life membership that I'm going to launch February 3rd. And so you can get on the wait list for it. So this has been a journey, Project Life, and it's really my kind of give back. I really do want us to start looking at our life like it's a project. Who am I becoming? What do I need? And all of those things. And really help to cultivate our love of self, our interactions with others, sharpening our focus in our professional lives, with the balance and, how do we focus in life and give ourselves permission to not have balance and things like that, and master our emotions so that we can generate a different type of energy. Okay. So in this membership, we're going to be overcoming self doubt, healing from our emotional barriers, gaining tools to create clarity, and just building habits that last with us. Right. First, we build our habits, and then our habits make us. And we want to make sure that we're building habits with somebody who's competent enough to help us build those habits. So I blend like coaching, communities, tools, and all of that in this Project Life program, so that you can have a blueprint for how to move forward. If you come out of Project Life and you're like, okay, now I know what I need to be talking to my therapist about or what I want to do with my coach, right? It's really a very foundational approach to really helping you change your life. And there is levels to the project. All right. So I would just say, don't wait to elevate, your life. Let's just kind of take a step back and let's really do this Project Life thing. I'm excited about this project because the truth is that I did it at 35. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna stop taking stuff personal, and I'm just gonna look at my life like a project and really see what can I create, not from the things that happened in my past, but who I'm going to become. What do I need? And I'm taking some of that, a lot of that, and helping people build the momentum in their lives. Okay. So I thank you all for showing up today. Your participation, you know it really makes this experience like so heartfelt for me. Again, I want you to take away, one, the love of self, like really start to change the way you speak, really start to get clear about your boundaries and what boundaries mean, really start to become more focused on one thing, right? Than all of these other things, right? And really stop suppressing your emotions, all right? Stop suppressing them. And again, if you need help in those areas of your life, right? Follow me, okay? If you guys have any questions, make sure you DM me. DM me your questions. If you're in Elevating Life, you can actually just go to that Google form and submit your questions on a Google form. And yeah, any questions? Any questions? No. I see I got one more question here. I wanna do this one. This last question before we leave is, how okay, what's the best way to handle people who don't support my growth? What is the best way to handle people who don't support my growth? This is near and dear to me, this question, because I think that we want everybody to we do have this mindset where we want everybody to buy in to the changes that we want and the growth that we want. Right. I saw a post that said support, and it was like one person in the stadium. And then on the other side, it was like applause. And it was like this whole big, people applauding. One, I don't know if people really know how to support people when they're trying to grow. So we're going to give people grace. People don't like change, right? If my way of being is supported by you doing the things that you used to do, and you're finna tell me you're gonna change that, I don't know how much support I can give you. That's a person that may have some low emotional intelligence or just scared of your growth, right? Um, and so what do we do with those people? Or the best way to handle those people? You know, I don't think we handle them. I'm being very, you know, very honest. Because the thing about it is that we're going to experience resistance from our friends, from our family, from our colleagues, right? From our colleagues when we go to change. And if we start to see that as a part of the process, then I don't have to handle the people that support my growth, that don't support my growth. I can go find a community of people who understand the importance of my growth and let them be the fuel for me as I'm transitioning, right? Because again, I'm gonna go back to that meme. It's one person that's like cheering you on, but then once you become that person, once you start that business, once you make those 6 figures, those 7 figures, once you get down in your weight, whatever that growth is, then everybody, all the people are now like, girl, I know you could have did that. Man, I knew you had to do. You always been smart. And you like, yeah, you should have told me that when I started. You the very one that told me that I couldn't do it. Because they just don't have the capacity and sometimes the understanding. So we don't have to handle those people. That's a lot of energy to try to convince them to support you. The most proactive and the most accelerating way that you can to do is to get support from other people who understand your growth. And again, that's going to be emotional because now you got to step out and trust people. Now you got to step out and do some things. And I feel like the reason we want the people that's around us to support our growth is because we want to feel comfortable in our growth. So how dare you? You a hater if you ain't supporting me in my growth, or you just don't, you just dirty because you don't want me to be better and do better. And it's like, no, they just have no conceptual idea of what your growth gonna look like, and they don't have no idea of desire of why you want that growth. So we not gonna judge them as good, bad, or indifferent. You made the decision to change. And you got to believe that God put it in you and the people around you. Now you got to face your own fear. I'm just being honest. You got to face your own fear, your own limited beliefs, and go out and create new relationships. And that's your work. And you got to now be vulnerable. And it's easy for me to point the finger at the family and the friends and the colleagues that's being resistant towards me than it is for me to dig deep inside myself and go out and create a community on my own of people who I don't know, who I'm not comfortable with, but I know that we're moving in the same direction. So I'm going to go join them and get some support from them. And then once I have transformed enough, now I can come back and handle these people. Not even handle, but just show up and stand up in who I am. And in a sense, that's handling them. Yeah. I want to say that with the most compassion because I feel like we all have this question. When I started my transformational journey, I definitely felt like, where am I? Like, why are people not supporting me? Like, you know, and I realized like, but Sheila, you changing. They don't want to change. Or maybe God called me to change so that they can change, or so I could be the blueprint for what change looked like for the people around me. So it's a big call to transform our life, you know, and maybe you're the catalyst of that person, for your family or for your peer group or for your colleagues to show how it's done. And I just had this conversation with my son. Yeah, the spirit of fear, the reality of fear is real. Yeah, the reality of fear is real. And then I do feel like we get caught up in these conversations like fear is false evidence appearing real. Yes, it is. It appearing real, right? That's the thing. It feels real. And the thing that we don't know is that our brain doesn't understand the difference. If I tell my brain that's scary, then my brain gonna respond like that's scary. And if I've heard that that's scary for most of my life, then it's gonna trigger fear inside of me. But I just had this conversation with my son the other day because, he plays basketball and me and his dad was talking and was talking about confidence. And I'm like, I don't think you lack confidence. I think a lot of us are very confident. You got the skill set, you know how to dribble, but I do think it's some courage. And courage and confidence are two different things. So I'm going to end it with this. Confidence is the things that we're competent in. When we're competent in communicating, we can do that confidently. I was a hairdresser. I was a competent hairdresser, so I feel confident in my ability to do hair. I'm a life coach now, a clinical therapist. I am very skilled. I did a lot of research, so I feel confident coming here and answering these questions for you guys, right? Now, the courageous thing for me is where it's not based on my skill set. It's not based on your skill set. It is the thing I do despite how I feel. Right before this live came on, I was nervous than a jitterbug. Like, oh my gosh. Like, I could hear it in my voice. Like, I had this feeling like, you know, so to come on every Sunday, it's going to take me courage to sit in front of people that I don't know and answer these questions confidently, right? But once I got on and I did the courageous thing, then my confidence was able to kick in. So I don't know if we're struggling with confidence more than we're struggling to be courageous in our life. And to go back to your question, what's the best way to handle people who don't support my growth? Be courageous and go get a different, a different community and look and be courageous and overcome those fears and judgments that we have about other people. And you can take your first step with that by, joining the Elevated Life group and um, signing up for, um, signing up for that project life where we're going to break it down into very sand like grains of sand so we can really understand how to really experience the things that we want to be experiencing in our life. All right, so yeah, courage over confidence. So somebody said, you are amazing hairdresser, thank you so much. I've never met another one that came close to your skill set. I get that a lot. Thank you, Miss Lorraine. Yeah. So it was easy. I'm confident that I can do anybody here, right? The courageous thing for me to do, even as a hairdresser, was to step away from that skill set and then go to college and develop a different skill set. That was the courageous thing. Like, I'm really thinking like, oh, my hands, what if something happened and all of that in the future that I wanted for myself. I stepped away from this very confident skill that was lucrative in income and went into a space that, like, school. I actually skipped school to do hair. So what are you talking about? Yeah. Again, I love you guys. I really do. I hope you have a wonderful week. And remember, you are enough and you have everything it takes to get the life that you desire and deserve. Okay. And I always end my shows with, if you can shape it in your mind, you can have it in your life. And truly, life is about shaping your vision for your life. And we need to take the time out to shape how we want our life to look so that we can start to experience those things. All right. I love you guys. I will see you guys next Sunday. Make sure you engage with this week's post. This week is all about love of self, and we're going to have that conversation next week. All right. Till later.